Before you judge me and think of me as an animal, give me a chance and hear me out. I walked into the house I called my home, but it didn't feel like it anymore. It was pitch dark in there except for some light coming from the kitchen. I walked over to find my wife sitting at the kitchen table with a bottle of beer with the labels all scratched off and scattered around the bottle. She couldn't even look at me. I stood there for a few minutes just staring at her, my high school sweetheart, my soulmate, the mother of my child, my first love and only love, and said to her, I want a divorce. Hello? Hey, sis. No, I didn't go to the Halloween party. I know it was the party of the century. I just got off my shift at McDonald's and I'm utterly exhausted. What friends? Do I have to? Okay, I'll come meet your friends, but if I want to leave, you have to let me, okay? Okay, bye. I rang the doorbell waiting for Kelly to open the door. I've been standing all day. I can't wait to get a beer and just sit. She opened the door and flung herself at me, giving me a big hug. I'm so excited to see you, she said. I smiled and I walked away. She's always being such a sweetheart. That's why I can never say no to her. Okay, follow me, she said with a knowing smile. In her living room were two girls in costume. I didn't think anything of it until I got closer. Just as I was about to step into the living room, I saw her. She completely took my breath away. There she was on the love seat, the most beautiful pimp I had ever seen. Her sister was in another chair, dressed as a prostitute. My heart was beating faster than a racehorse. It was, as cliché as it sounds, it was love at first sight. But then I suddenly became very aware of the fact that I just got off my shift and must have smelled like stale French fries. Smart enough to know that stale French fries are not exactly sexy, I decided to quickly go freshen up before sitting down. When I got back, I went to sit beside the pimp. The whole time I was there, I was blushing, and I didn't speak a word to her. I honestly didn't know what to say. Out of the whole 2 hours, the only thing I said to her was, "Could you pass the ashtray?" Yeah, okay. Flirting was not my strongest asset. But time went by, 2 hours to be exact, and they had to leave. The prostitute said, "Well, it's getting past this one's bedtime." I could see the anger and embarrassment in the pimp's eyes after her sister said that. She gave her a look that could kill. They proceeded to get up and leave. My mind was racing of something to say before this beautiful woman walks out of my life. After she was out the door, I managed to yell, "What's your name?" Yeah, we sat there for 2 hours, and I didn't even ask her name. She smiled shyly and responded, Leanne. She started to give me a name, then stuttered to say Leanne. That was it. I didn't see her again. 3 months later, I got a call when I was at work from Kelly. "What's up? I'm working." She giggled, but didn't say anything. "Kels, I'm working. What's up?" I got her number. I got Leanne's number. My eyes opened wide, and I almost dropped the mop. "I'm gonna text it to you. Call her now," Kelly said. I smiled from ear to ear and hung up the phone, staring at it, waiting for the telephone number to appear. And when it did, I immediately called her. We set up our first date on that call, which actually was on my 18th birthday. After we started dating, we were always inseparable. Even though she lived 30 minutes away, I didn't care. I would go see her any chance I could get. What made this love story even more romantic was that we were each other's first. I knew I wanted to give all of myself to her, and she felt the same way. Everything was always perfect. We were the happiest we could ever be. It was like a fairy tale story come true. 1 year after that, I sent her a website I had built for her. On it was our favorite picture of us sitting together, and there was a speech bubble coming out of my mouth that asks her, "Will you marry me?" She was so happy and said yes. I was on cloud 9. 1 year after that, our daughter was born. I have to tell you, that was absolutely the best thing that has ever happened to me. And then, 5 months later, I finally married her, the girl of my dreams. Now, as much as we wanted to be, and as much as I had believed mine was, life definitely isn't a fairy tale. Years went by and we were a happy little family, but about 10 years after our happily ever after, we hit a rough patch. A really rough patch. 10 years was a long time, and after a while, marriage takes its toll on you. We were fighting on a daily basis. After a while, I started to have doubts. The love we had just didn't feel like it was there anymore, so I started to doubt if I even still wanted to be in this relationship anymore. Things were really tough. Now, my wife isn't a typical woman. I don't say that to be insulting, but she just doesn't get mad at normal things that other women do. Way back when we first started dating, she said to me, "I'm giving you a get-out-of-jail-free card, a hall pass if you will." She said, "If you are ever feeling any doubt, you can just use it to make sure being with me is what you truly want." In the 10 years we were together, it never once crossed my mind to use it, until we had our rough patch. One day, I decided I would take her up on her offer to see if being with her was what I truly wanted. We had just finished cleaning up the apartment and we were getting ready for bed. She was reading when I said, "I need to talk to you." She closed her book and looked at me. "Remember the get-out-of-jail-free card you offered me years ago?" I asked her. She pressed her lips together and said, "Uh-huh. Well, I would like to take you up on that offer. Of course, I will tell you with whom I will use it with, where I will be, and when it will be. I don't want to hide anything from you. I respect you so much." She paused and pressed her lips together again and managed to pull together a forced smile and said, "Okay, I understand." I met this girl on Tinder, and when we agreed to meet up, I told my wife everything I promised her I would. She was an emotional wreck, but she did her best to hide it from me and didn't once try to hold me back. When the day came, I think it was one of the toughest things she ever had to go through. I drove an hour to meet this girl, and yeah, we had a fun weekend. Up until that point, I had only been with my wife, so it was exciting to be with someone different. I'm not gonna lie, I did feel a slight connection with this girl. Nothing like when I first met my wife, but there was definitely something there. We had such a great time that when I compared what I was feeling towards her to what my marriage had come to be, I thought for sure my marriage must have fizzled out and was at its end. I thought maybe it was time for a new relationship. So when I got back home to see my wife sitting there waiting for me, I had to tell her. I told my wife I wanted a divorce, and naturally she was heartbroken. And even though you may think I'm a monster, I did sympathize with her. I was in my new relationship, expecting it to be the way my relationship with my wife started, but the more I was away from her, the more empty I felt. Even through all the hard times we had, and there were some very hard times, I still felt love for her. In fact, I missed her like crazy. After spending time with this new woman and seeing her maturity come out, I realized more and more what I had given up. I kept thinking about how good I had it with my wife. The couple of years that led to our rough patch was pretty tough. They were pretty bad. I mean, I wasn't good to my wife. She wasn't good to me, but after leaving her and being with this other woman, all I was thinking about was my amazing wife. I wasn't thinking about this other woman at all. One day I was thinking about the first time I met my wife and how my heart was racing and all the feelings and emotions came rushing back. I knew at that point that I had made a huge mistake. My wife was all I ever wanted. Now, all this happened over the course of 3 months. I went back to her, but it was those 3 months that saved our marriage. If I wouldn't have done this, my wife and I probably would still be bitter towards each other. Things would have just gotten worse, and we would probably most likely be divorced. It made us both realize what we had and reminded us the feelings we had for one another. I asked her to have me back, and we agreed to go to marriage counseling. Okay, it didn't work because the counselor was super religious and we are atheist. However, it didn't stop us from fighting for our marriage. We would talk about our feelings to each other, and eventually things got better and we got through it. And now we are happily married. Yes, happily married. Even my wife will tell you that this whole thing saved our marriage, that it was the best thing to happen to the both of us. Believe me, our marriage wouldn't have survived otherwise.